Hello and welcome to Comics Tuesday. And today we're going to be talking about Spider-Man Clone Saga. What's that? The Clone Saga sucks? Well, fuck you. The Clone Saga is one of my favorite Spider-Man stories in history, and it also has a reputation for being very bad. Is it? Yeah, kind of. But it's good too. You see, it just went on for so long. It has some real high and low points. And so as a reader, it's very difficult to actually get any enjoyment out of it. And so you might be wondering, if I like it so much, then what's wrong with it? Well, it went on way too long, lasting well over 100 issues. It was constantly waffling on certain plot points and whether it wanted to take them one way or another. It was completely eaten alive by high-up executive meddling. It suffered from occasional bad art. And then at the end, it was all pretty much undone. So that sucks. But in this big, long mess of a story, there are many good stories. It just got ruined by Marvel struggling, having a hard time, trying desperately to make a buck and just stretching the story out and trying to do things to shock the readers. And it turned out badly. But it's not all bad. I love this story, and there are some reasons why. It introduced a lot of interesting characters. For example, Ben Reilly, one of my favorite Spider-Man characters. It also had some of the most epic fights that Spider-Man's ever had. It built on previous continuity, really took things forward in a lot of ways. And the entire Spider-Girl series would not have happened without the Clone Saga. So, if you're thinking you might want to read it, it's very important that you know what to read. Do not try to dig through all the single issues and read all 100 plus. You're going to have a bad time if you do that. Instead, here's what you do. If you want to stick to main continuity Spider-Man, you start off reading not in the 90s when most of the Clone Saga happened, but in 1975 in Amazing Spider-Man 144, wherein the Jackal forces Spider-Man to fight a clone of himself. And they fight, the clone dies, and is dumped into a smokestack. You should go from that story to a miniseries called The Lost Years that focuses on the clone, Ben Reilly, and his life up until the point when he returns and the main events of the Clone Saga happen. And speaking of Ben Reilly, all the stuff where he was leading the book as the main Spider-Man, those tend to be good. So he's got a lot of good fights, like against Venom or the lady Dr. Octopus. And when he bonds with the Carnage symbiote, all are classics. Also, anytime Kane shows up. Check those out if you want to see some really brutal fights. And also try to catch the ending when they finally clear up this and that plot points. Probably the safest bet for this is to go through the trades that Marvel put out just a few years ago. And then that way, it eliminates the confusion of trying to figure out whether you need to read Spectacular and then Amazing, or maybe Amazing and then Web of. Just go for the trade. But even after the Clone Saga proper ended, there's still a few more things that you're going to get a lot of enjoyment out of because of having read the Clone Saga. And those are Spider Island, the second Scarlet Spider series of Kane, Spider-Verse, especially the Scarlet Spiders miniseries, because that focuses on Ben Reilly and Kane and Ultimate Jessica Drew. More on that in a minute. So next up, if the main continuity one sounded a little complicated, I'm not going to lie, it is. But if you want some approximation of the story and to be able to see how it's good, well, there's a miniseries for you, simply titled Spider-Man the Clone Saga. And this is a 6-part miniseries that was written by the original architects of the Clone Saga, and is intended to be a version that reads more like the Clone Saga should have been and was originally intended. Being only 6 parts, it doesn't drag on, it gets right to the point, it keeps all the really good stuff, and it does change some details, but for the most part, it's for the better. And there's one more. So if you read Spider-Man books, you're probably familiar with the Ultimate Universe and Ultimate Spider-Man. And not just Miles Morales. Before him, there's an Ultimate version of Peter Parker. and he had his own Clone Saga. And much like the Clone Saga miniseries, it didn't drag on. It was good. It had learned its lesson from the original one. So check out issues 97 through 105 of Ultimate Spider-Man, because it is a well-told story with interesting characters, but not a lot of confusion. It's pretty straightforward, which is really refreshing in terms of the Clone Saga. This also introduces the Ultimate Universe's version of the perfect clone of Peter Parker. But in this telling, it's Jessica Drew, Spider-Woman, who is a clone of Peter. I've always really liked that small twist on it because it makes so much sense. So if you've never read this, especially if you've never read it, because of the negative opinions that a lot of people have about it, understand there's a reason that people view this negatively, but it's still worth picking up and trying to get something positive from it. So don't miss out on Spidey versus Spidey and the bulk of Ben Reilly's stories and just 90s weirdness and great characters that are still around like Kane or Mayday Parker. So that just about does it for today. And so it's time for the viewer question of the day, which is the Clone Saga miniseries. It was successful at retelling an unpopular story in a much better format. Do you think that more unpopular stories should get a second chance as a miniseries? Leave it in a comment down below. And don't forget to like this video, subscribe to my channel, and come back next time for Comics Tuesday. How do the X-Men prevent bullying against their students with more unfortunate powers? We'll find out next time. Thanks for watching.